Gold starting the week slightly up. We got Frank Holmes and Gold Game Film to kick off the week. And joining us now is Frank Holmes. Frank, thanks for coming on today.
Good to be here from Vancouver Monday morning.
So like we started, gold is up to start the week, mostly safe haven bids on geopolitical tension. Now, do you think gold can keep this going?
Yes, I think that this is the historical gold cycle. Then the second half of the year it rallies, and it usually rallies to the Chinese New Year. And there'll be pullbacks, but we're in a high probability cyclical uptrend.
All right, Frank, let's take it over to the OT segment, opportunities and threats, starting with opportunities. Now, this time last year, gold stocks were performing better. Now, what's the difference here? Why are we seeing a difference between bullion and gold stock performance?
And I think the sentiment is very different. The sentiment is when gold stocks historically have a beta or a movement of 2 to 3% for every 1% move in bullion either way, meaning that if gold falls 1%, gold stocks fall 2 to 3%. However, gold fell 2% and gold stocks were less than that. That's a very constructive, positive factor for gold stocks. And I think it's because when you look at the future, what's expected over the next 3 years from gold mining companies is that they're going to generate a shrinking supply of gold. They're not going to have the growth that was anticipated.
We look at gold ETFs, Frank, and there's obviously SPDR, which has been down the last few days, but on the whole has been up in 2014. Now, where do you see this going in terms of gold prices?
I think psychologically more important is the big down day last week. Actually, the demand for the gold ETF expanded. That's 180 from last year when gold would fall and the ETF supply would contract and shrink. So you're seeing net buyers. The big bears continue to be Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan on this whole call on gold. But what's interesting is that we're seeing 10-year government bonds make new lows, 52-week lows. So I think that you're seeing that in the stock market, the big stock market, is that the money is flowing into dividend-paying stocks, which are growing their dividends because long-term rates continue to be low, and some are forecasting GDP only to grow at 1.5%.
And looking at rates, we have CIBC who came out with a study focusing on rates coinciding with a $1,400 gold price. Now, do you agree with this study?
Yes. And, we have written and published many times on the significance for the fear trade of money supply that is one factor, and the other factor is real interest rates. What will the government pay you minus the CPI rate? And what is that number? Is it positive, negative? Last year, it was going positive. Gold was falling. So far this year, it's going negative, and gold is rallying. We think that odds favor interest rates cannot spike that much without a huge global slowdown. And therefore, we're going to live with negative real interest rates. And this is a bullish case for gold.
And before going into threats, let's take a look at India. Now, you've always been a staunch bull with India and gold demand. And lo and behold, gold demand up in June. You still maintain the same sentiments you had for the country?
Yes, it was good to see that the new leader said he would sort of slacken up on the regulatory regime of gold coming into the country to try to stop illegal gold trading coming, because the cultural affinity towards gold supersedes whatever regulations want to put in. And when they basically made it easier to move money into India, we saw a 65% surge. That's very positive.
Now, looking at threats, we have the big research firms, the big banks that are coming out, and they're still short on gold. Now, do they maybe know something that we don't?
Yes, but they don't know about this special meridian line, that goes from Israel right up to Ukraine. It seems where we have all this global conflict. What's going to take place in Israel? How is Ukraine going to unfold? Are we going into Cold War number 2? Is that the new sequence? Are we getting ready for that? And there are some real interesting thought leaders. Martin Weiss has published and written about this out of his letter on the significance of appreciating this Cold War number 2. This would make gold rally.
All right, Frank, and moving on to gold's touchdown pass for the week, what do you see?
Well, I think it's following the CPI numbers of what's taking place. China was modestly higher, and what's going to happen in the U.S., I think that's a key factor, and how will long-term interest rates respond to that.
Excellent, Frank. As always, thanks for your time today.
All right, happy investing this week.
And thank you for watching this edition of Gold Game Film with Frank Holmes. If you have any comments and questions, you can always send them to newsfeedback@kitco.com. Have a great week.